Want to quickly learn a subject, but give up because it's too boring or difficult? Want to master a new skill in a short time, but feel overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information? The issue may not be a lack of intelligence, but rather not understanding the universal techniques of learning. Scott Young, the author of Ultralearning, is an ultralearner who has accomplished several seemingly impossible tasks, mastering linear algebra in just 10 days, completing MIT's 4-year curriculum of 33 courses within a single year, and traveling to 4 countries in 1 year while learning 4 different local languages. So, how does he learn? In his book, he outlines 9 principles that can make you a faster, deeper, and more confident learner. I'll guide you through the meanings of these principles and use visual explanations to show you exactly how to apply them. Principle 1. Metalearning. Learn how to learn before you start. Being able to see how a subject works, what kinds of skills and information must be mastered, and what methods are available to do so more effectively is at the heart of success of all ultralearning projects. Metalearning research can be broken down into 3 questions: why, what, and how. Why? If your goal is to go from A to a specific result B, you might believe that learning C could help you achieve that goal. However, instead of jumping straight into learning C, consider that there might be another method D that could lead to the result more easily. Or, it might even be possible to go directly from A to B without an intermediate step. Therefore, before you start learning, it's important to conduct a thorough investigation or consult an expert. What? This can be divided into 3 parts: concepts, things you need to understand; facts, things you simply need to memorize; procedures, things you need to practice. How? This can be further divided into 2 parts. Benchmarking. Examine the course structure for this subject in universities. Spend about an hour searching online for almost all resources related to this skill. This should help you find relevant courses, articles, and suggestions for learning. Emphasize. Exclude. Investigate or infer the relative importance of different parts of the subject. Focus on the important parts while appropriately ignoring the less important ones. Principle 2. Focus. Deep focus beats time. The struggles with focus that people have generally come in 3 broad varieties: starting, sustaining, and optimizing the quality of one's focus. Focus is the foundation of all learning. Without it, even the best strategies won't work. The reasons people often struggle to focus typically fall into 3 categories: procrastinating, getting distracted, and failing to create the right kind of focus. Procrastinating. There are 2 solutions to procrastination. The 5-minute rule. Convince yourself to spend just 5 minutes trying out the task before doing anything else. Anyone can endure 5 minutes, no matter how boring, frustrating, or difficult the task is. The Pomodoro technique. If you find yourself stopping after starting, try the Pomodoro technique. Focus for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. This method helps you rest periodically and restart with renewed focus. Getting distracted. Distractions usually come from 3 sources. Environment. External factors like television, games, or music can cause varying degrees of distraction. Task. Some activities are inherently harder to focus on than others. To address this, you can use complementary tasks, such as taking notes or solving problems to help you stay engaged. Mind. The 3rd source is your own mind. Negative emotions, restlessness, or conflicts with others can be major obstacles to focus. Instead of ignoring these issues, acknowledge their presence, observe them, and then release or let them pass. Failing to create the right kind of focus. Both overstimulation and understimulation can negatively affect focus. Lower levels of excitement are better suited for more complex tasks, while noisier environments, like a coffee shop, can be better for simpler tasks. Therefore, you need to find the appropriate level of stimulation for optimal focus. Principle 3. Directness. Learn by doing. Directly learning the thing we want feels too uncomfortable, boring, or frustrating, so we settle for some book, lecture, or app, hoping it will eventually make us better at the real thing. Evidence shows that direct learning has significantly greater advantages over indirect learning, as it facilitates the transfer of knowledge to new learning environments. Here are 4 strategies to help you engage in direct learning. Project. If your goal in learning is to create, you must ensure that you at least learn how to create. If you follow a step-by-step course structure, you might spend a lot of time taking notes and reading, but still fail to achieve your goal. Simply reading a large number of books without taking action is far less effective than writing an original paper directly. Immersive learning. Immersive learning involves placing yourself in the target environment. The benefit of this approach is that it requires you to practice more than you would under normal circumstances. For example, when learning a language, immersing yourself in an environment where the language is spoken gives you far more opportunities to practice, simply because you have no other choice. Simulation. For many skills that cannot be practiced directly, you can use simulated environments to achieve similarly effective results. Increase the challenge. The final strategy is to increase the difficulty of challenges by placing yourself in a high-demand environment. This ensures that you won't miss out on any important lessons or feedback. For instance, publicly showcasing your photography can push you to continuously refine your skills. Principle 4. Drill. Break down and strengthen your weakest points. Take care of the bars, and the piece will take care of itself. Rather than practicing all aspects of a skill simultaneously, focusing on the most critical weak points will help you improve faster. The book introduces 4 effective methods to train specific subskills. 1. Time slicing. Identify a specific segment within a longer sequence of actions and tackle it one at a time. For instance, musicians often pinpoint the most challenging passages in a piece of music and practice them individually until they can perform them flawlessly. Finally, these refined segments are integrated into the entire song or symphony. 2. Cognitive components. Sometimes, the skill you want to practice isn't an overarching one, but a specific cognitive component. For example, when learning a language, you use grammar, pronunciation, and vocabulary. To train effectively, you need to find a way to practice just one of these aspects while allowing the others to improve indirectly. 3. The copycat. For certain creative skills, isolating one aspect for practice may not be possible without simultaneously addressing others. In such cases, you can copy other people's works or even your own previous creations to bypass the parts you don't want to focus on. This allows you to concentrate on the specific aspect you want to improve. 4. Magnifying glass. When it's impossible to isolate or separate the part you want to practice, you can dedicate extra time and effort to that particular skill. By zooming in and giving it disproportionate attention, you can still make significant progress. Principle 5. Retrieval. Test yourself, don't just review. It pays better to wait and recollect by an effort from within than to look at the book again. When you simply read and do not attempt to recall the content from the book, you may feel like you've learned a lot, but you haven't truly mastered it. However, by testing yourself on the material earlier, you can gradually develop a deeper understanding and mastery of it. The book introduces several self-testing methods. Free recall. After finishing a portion of a book or a lecture, try writing down everything you can remember on a blank sheet of paper. This method is often very challenging, but it is also highly effective. The question book method. Take notes in a different way. Rephrase what you've learned into questions. Later, try answering those questions and include references to where you can find the answers. This method provides you with material for future self-testing. Self-generated challenges. If you want to apply a skill, rather than just memorize information, create some challenging questions or practical projects that you can work on and solve later. Principle 6. Feedback. Embrace criticism. What often separated the ultra-learning strategy from more conventional approaches was the immediacy, accuracy, and intensity of the feedback being provided. The importance of feedback is undeniable. Knowing whether what we're doing is right or wrong can significantly accelerate the learning process. However, more feedback is not always better. The type of feedback matters most. Excessive negative feedback or overly positive feedback can both reduce motivation. The book outlines several strategies to achieve better feedback. Noise cancellation. Noise refers to irrelevant information that can interfere with decision-making. For example, the number of views on your article may not accurately reflect its quality. Using tracking tools to measure the percentage of people who read your article to the end could provide a more accurate evaluation metric. Hitting the difficulty sweet spot. Adjust your learning environment so you cannot predict whether you will succeed or fail. If you're failing too often, simplify the problem and focus on figuring out the correct approach. If you're succeeding too easily, increase the task difficulty or raise your standards to maintain continuous improvement. Metafeedback. This type of feedback doesn't evaluate your performance directly, but instead assesses the overall effectiveness of your learning by measuring your learning speed. High-intensity, rapid feedback. The more detailed and frequent the feedback, the better. For instance, frequently exposing yourself to the stage can rapidly improve your public speaking skills. Principle 7. Retention. Don't fill a leaky bucket. Regardless of the exact system used, however, all systems seem to work according to one of four mechanisms: spacing, proceduralization, overlearning, or mnemonics. Spacing. If you want to build long-term memory, avoid cramming. Instead, divide your study time into smaller sessions. While this might lead to poorer short-term performance, it will result in better long-term outcomes. For example, if you have 10 hours to study a particular subject, it's wiser to study 1 hour per day over 10 days than to study all 10 hours in a single day. Proceduralization. Procedural skills, like riding a bike, tend to be retained longer than declarative knowledge. Therefore, before you finish practicing, aim to proceduralize certain amounts of knowledge. For instance, force yourself to constantly speak a new language, frequently repeating a set of core phrases and patterns. Overlearning. Traditional schooling often spreads practice evenly across topics, ensuring that all areas reach a minimum level of competence. However, over-practicing certain core skills can lead to long-term retention, making them almost impossible to forget even years later. Mnemonics. Create a mental image that incorporates the knowledge you want to remember. By embedding it in a vivid, unusual, and memorable scene, the image becomes difficult to forget. Principle 8. Intuition. Build connections for deeper understanding. Intuition sounds magical, but the reality may be more banal, the product of a large volume of organized experience dealing with the problem. Focus on principles, use examples, and get straight to the core of the problem instead of just focusing on surface features. Here are a few specific methods to cultivate intuition. Don't give up on hard problems easily. The great physicist, Richard Feynman, was obsessed with solving problems. From his childhood, when he tinkered with repairing radios, he would stubbornly think about a problem until he solved it. He often forced himself to painstakingly calculate all the forces by hand, simply because it helped him better understand the formulas. Prove things to understand them. Feynman didn't master things by merely understanding others' conclusions. Instead, he tried to mentally rederive those results, step by step, to truly grasp and internalize them. Similarly, Einstein developed his intuition as a child by proving mathematical and physical propositions for himself. Always start with a concrete example. Concrete examples help you understand things in a very intuitive way. If you can't come up with a suitable example, it's a sign that you don't fully understand something. Don't fool yourself. Feynman famously said, "You are the easiest person to fool." He often asked many stupid questions, such as whether the cathode is positive or negative, or whether anions move this way or that way. Asking such stupid questions can prevent you from deceiving yourself into thinking you know everything. In contrast, avoiding questions to appear knowledgeable comes at a significant cost. Principle 9. Experimentation. Explore outside your comfort zone. To get into the right mental space for experimenting, you need not only to see your abilities as something you can improve, but understand that there is a huge number of potential avenues to do this. As you master more skills, you'll no longer be satisfied with simply following others. You'll need to experiment and find your own path. Here are a few methods to help you continuously test and explore. Copy, then create. While Van Gogh is best known for his original works, he also spent a lot of time copying sketches and paintings by other artists he admired. When you attempt to mimic or replicate something, you must deconstruct it to understand how it works. Compare methods side by side. Use the scientific approach of controlling variables. Try two different methods while changing only one condition, and observe the results. This will encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and experiment boldly. Introduce new constraints. When designers are given unlimited freedom, their work often lacks focus. Instead, setting specific constraints can push you to explore unfamiliar options and refine your potential. Find your superpower in the hybrid of unrelated skills. In many creative fields, combining two seemingly unrelated skills can give you an edge that specialists in only one area might not have. Explore the extremes. Playing it safe and sticking to moderation might not be the best approach, as it could prevent you from exploring all possibilities. A better strategy is to push certain aspects of the skills you're developing to the extreme, as the best solutions often lie at the edges. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I really hope these summaries can be helpful in your life. If you enjoyed this, I'll keep making more content about book summaries in the future. Subscribing to my channel would mean the world to me and give me a huge boost. Thank you, and I wish you all the best in life.